Here's what bothers me about us giving them bunker busters. That means that Israel went in to start a job that they knew they needed us to finish.
That's right.
And that's backing us into a corner, and I don't like that, and friends don't do that. So this was, I think, a highlight, and it's odd to me that it wasn't released as a snippet, considering how contentious it got.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So
that was a fair question.
That's in the Bible.
That is
as
a fair
Christian,
question.
I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And
what does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
That's a fair question.
Hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political
The answer to that is no.
Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about in Genesis?
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
So, and guys, can you also send me that clip, the AIPAC clip, because that was a really bad answer from Senator Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And maybe the thing is, maybe it's because we are around and we have people who work here who are actually observant Jews, and not every single one agrees. Like, screw AIPAC. Like, we all have a problem with AIPAC because they give to Hakeem Jeffries and Elizabeth, I believe Elizabeth Warren, or I don't know who.
I think Ted Cruz got over $1 million from them.
$1.9 million.
Was it 1.9?
Yeah, and here's the thing: everyone who has funding from a specific donor, a specific investor, or in some cases a foreign advocate or lobbying group, they're not going to be free to answer honestly. And this whole thing seemed like an exercise of tiptoeing around each other and avoiding the things that they're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that Senator Ted Cruz was picked for this. He couldn't answer them accurately. And
it was frustrating to me because it felt like, and in the interview, I mean, I kind of summarized it that, Ted Cruz says some stuff that I don't agree with. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to go to the other side. I think the extremes are getting this wrong on both sides.
Well, let me ask you a laser question first.
Yeah.
The Bible referring to Israel is referring to?
It's referring to Jewish people. It's not referring to a nation because a nation didn't exist at the time. This was a promise made to Abraham by God. It was a covenant that God made with himself, by the way. He put Abraham into a sleep, and then he passed through the split halves of animals, basically saying, like, I'm signing a contract that says if I break this contract, whoever walks between them, may we become like the animals around us. Death, basically. If I break this, I die. God put Abraham into a sleep and walked through himself. He made a covenant with himself.
Yeah.
An unbreakable, one-sided deal.
The people of Israel.
Did not depend on Tel Aviv having gay pride parades or the Jewish people rejecting Jesus as the Messiah. He knew all of that when he made the singular covenant.
No, I know, but I'm going to play like I'm Tucker here. So what do you mean? What does the Bible mean when they're referring to Israel?
They're referring to the Jewish people. Stop it.
But Jewish people. No, that's a fair answer. My point is,
it wasn't the nation.
Most people can give that answer.
Yeah.
Most Christians can give that answer.
Yes.
Say, it's the people of Israel. We're talking about the people of Israel, not the current nation borders. Because, hey, you can have a corrupt, leftist government running Israel.
You for sure can. And what does bless mean? I think it's fair to say that. Like, if for all the, for whatever reason, if Israel decides to nuke Paris because, I don't know, they don't like mimes anymore, and they're like, hey, we're going to take them all out at the source, do we bless that action? Of course
I think
not.
we should join into that war if they're taking out mimes.
Maybe if it's clowns and we're taking out all the world's clowns.
Yeah,
then that's
France, the only place that say, hey, can we take clowns and make them not funny? We'll call them Pierrot.
I think I understand where Tucker is coming from, because he's right that it's a people group that God blessed, not necessarily a nation state.
Right.
But it's also incorrect to say that the nation state of Israel today doesn't have any resemblance or connection to the Israel of the Bible. That's also not true. It's the same land.
Still looks
mostly,
like it.
Right? Not completely, because
borders change.
The borders absolutely change. And the promised land was not from, the river that it is now. Try going further east.
Well, let me ask you another.
It looks like the Bible. I saw 3 wise men get out of a Range Rover and television.
They're like, it's beautiful, but unreliable as shit. So, let me.
Not a hybrid?
Should have gone with a Toyota. Toyota, nothing.
Toyota, nothing already.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
4 cylinders, Mike.
Forerunner, you need power. There's no power.
Is anything okay
what are you
here?
talking about? You buy power, but you drive torque.
Oh my God, it's like you lived in New York.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-up.
Used car sale.
Because
In Jerusalem. Come on down to Wagon Salt.
You brought gold, you brought more. I brought 10% off a 2018 Sequoia.
Come down, kick a tire, kick a Jew. I don't give a shit.
Let me ask you this, because it's the next question. People say, well, actually, Israel means the church, means the new church, means Christians because of the new covenant. It doesn't have anything to do with the Jewish people at all. That is something that I also see circulated.
Yeah.
And there's a component.
There is a
of
component
truth.
to that. Yeah, that is in the New Testament, that the church is now part of Israel. And notice that I said part of and does not replace, right? So if you adopt somebody into your family, they become, my last name is Morgan, they become a Morgan, right? They don't necessarily take me out, a natural born son. They don't replace me. Right. They become part of that family. I don't think it makes any sense to say, and replacement theology, like, you've got to be very careful with replacement theology. It was what was used in the 1930s to foment a lot of anti-Semitism, and even before that in the 1920s. And I'm not saying that this is why Hitler did what he did, but it was certainly a part of his.
It was something he used to manipulate people.
Right? Yeah, they were like,
he was a pagan.
The Jews because they killed Christ. Actually, it was the Romans that killed Christ. But
that's
that was
right.
The whole
Don't
point
steal
of
our
the story.
Yeah, it's your big claim to fame before you guys collapsed.
It's just there's a lot of inconsistencies, and it matters to get this right, because you can really run off the deep end to some stuff that I'm just like, listen, you'll end up fighting against God if you're not careful, and you do need to be careful on this. But Christians have gotten this a little wrong as well, and it matters to get it right on that side of it.
Yeah, you do have a lot of people in the evangelical church who go, well, God says Israel, so I support, so send any money that you want.
No,
and that's absolutely incorrect.
Right.
The idea that, the covenant doesn't apply to Jewish people, only to Christians. It's like, well, no, and I understand they say, well, why would a covenant apply to people who both accept and reject Christ? And of course, the New Testament basically ends with the Jews being given a last chance to convert, right?
So this is the 70th week of Daniel prophecy that comes to, and some people will try to say that the pre-preterist or the partial preterist, I guess, will try to say that was fulfilled in Jesus Christ, or that was fulfilled in 70 AD. I can't find any biblical support, and I mean any biblical support for that. I understand the Schofield Bible crowd and everybody else saying that this all just came about. Now, just let Scripture interpret Scripture, okay? Try to take, you may not necessarily be able to take the Bible literally all of the time, because it is a book of literature, essentially, and they use all different kinds of
allegorical too,
and figures of speech, but try to take it as seriously as you possibly can at the moment, unless you have to. Don't allegorize things away, because that's the only way these things happen. The entire reason for the book of Revelation, the entire reason, is to catalog this is Israel's last chance. There's a reason that it's very easy to read Revelation 1 through 3, chapters 1 through 3, maybe into chapter 4. And then it becomes incredibly filled with symbolism that is all dependent on your understanding of Hebrew culture in the Old Testament. It is primarily written as a Jewish book saying, hey, here is the last chance. And oh, by the way, Gentiles, thank God that you've been grafted in. I am so glad we were chosen to come into this group. But that certainly doesn't mean that God is through with Israel. Otherwise, whole swaths of the Bible would make no sense whatsoever.
Would make no sense. Now, that being said, all of that being said, none of it makes a basis for foreign policy.
No.
To be clear, none of it should be based on that at all. And when you're talking about foreign policy, it comes back to, is it a good thing for Iran to have a nuclear weapon or to be nuclear capable? And I get it. You don't believe any of the intelligence agencies who were right that Iraq could not create or have nukes. So they're all in on it. But is it a good thing for Iran to have a nuke or not? I think not. Should the United States get involved or not? I think not, by and large. If I'm watching it, I'm still rooting for the only democratic free country in that region of the world who does not seem to be looking to establish, or at least has had no success, because I know some people believe they are, in establishing a global caliphate. None of this has anything to do with foreign policy. As far as domestic policy, I think that AIPAC should be treated like any other foreign lobbying organization, along with Qatar, along with China. A lot of people sort of skirt that.
Russia.
That FISA. Russia, Ukraine, all of them, to be clear. Can't stand AIPAC. Now let's do everyone else as well.
You know who AIPAC likes?
Hakeem Jeffries.
In this case, they like Ted Cruz.
Well, I know in this case they like Ted Cruz.
They actually came out and said, thank you, Ted Cruz, for being a champion of the U.S.-Israel relationship. And I'm like, Ted's like, no, not right now. Wait. Ted did a horrible job of defending his association. And look,
Can we give the answer
He
on AIPAC?
seemed tired.
Yeah, can we give the answer? Do we have that clip?
Yes, we do.
Okay, the answer
good.
on AIPAC, which is just a terrible answer.
Yeah.
It's a 3-minute clip.
All right.
I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the
From
Israel.
AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship
Is
and
AIPAC
relationship.
a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Group.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times...
Can you pause it?
Like that should not be the basis of your campaign if you're here to represent the United States. This is what people have a problem with, and I wholeheartedly agree.
That was a horrific answer.
Horrific.
Boy, was he off.
You know why? Because he has to. He has to. Otherwise,
I know.
I'm sorry. There is truth. He has to answer that way, or AIPAC goes.
But you know what he should have said? I came into the Senate to make sure that I was the leading defender of my constituents who voted for me and sent me here.
Yeah.
Why in the world would an answer like, can you say, hey, I place a high premium on the relationship that we have with Israel? Even if you disagree with that, I can understand that. That's fine. But that can't be I'm going to be the number one defender of this thing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a horrifically bad answer.
He was
On the flip side, I don't think that Tucker Carlson wants anyone who can have it and go, oh yeah, AIPAC sucks, and move on.
No, because
that takes a lot of it away. That is the whole
out from under him.
Yeah, there's even the whole like Jesse Ventura thing that Tucker was doing, like the I'm just asking questions, tough guy, and it's like, well, let me try and answer. I'm just asking questions. All right, fine. So there's a lot of it. Just didn't seem like any of this was taking place in good faith. AIPAC sucks. And going back to I will tell you this: ideal scenario here to me. Well, first off, most hilarious scenario would be if Russia just reached their wits' end and just came in and just dropped bunker busters on Iran. We're like, screw it, we don't want to deal with this. And then the people wouldn't have, like Ian Carroll, people like that would have no idea what to do.
Like,
I think ideal scenario, number one, you guys tell me, let's look through that. Israel is able to take care of this, somehow is able to take out the nuclear capabilities.
Use the penetrator bomb we just talked about.
And maybe some clandestine operation. Number two would be that, okay, we come to talks here where Israel says, all right, okay, we'll stop if we have access to everything. This is basically disarmed, and we have the ability to inspect. And of course, at the same time, Israel allows the United States to. That should be part of our negotiations as well.
IEA has to go in there.
Yeah, I have to go in there. And then less ideal scenario would be if the United States gives a bunker buster or whatever artillery, whatever kind of bomb and planes to fly it to Israel to do the job. And then worst case scenario is sending in Americans in any kind of clandestine operation like that. So these are the different possible scenarios. I'd like Israel to handle it without us. I really would like to see that, because here's what bothers me about us giving them bunker busters. That means that Israel went in to start a job that they knew they needed us to finish.
That's right.
And that's backing us into a corner, and I don't like that, and friends don't do that. On the flip side, when Tucker Carlson goes, should we be paying Israel to spy on us? We're not paying Israel to spy on us. And Ted Cruz couldn't just say, well, it's bad that they do it. But you know who one of the worst offenders is as far as espionage? Is France. Historically, they have been the worst. I think it's a bad thing that Israel spies on us. I think it's a bad thing that France.
What do they do with it?
What do they do with that information?
France is a serious nuclear power, too. A lot of people don't realize. I know, because they suck, but you don't realize until you look at it on a sheet of paper. I think it's bad that the United States spies on Israel. I think it's bad that Israel spies on the United States. I don't think that Israel is as great of an ally as people make them out to be. All of that, I agree with. But to only single out Israel, and of course Qatar is one of the worst as far as spying, as far as trying to infiltrate.
Well, and funding terrorism. I know Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Qatar's number 2.
That's right.
Man, Qatar, they've got their eye on the prize.
Yes, they absolutely do. But it's not honest to say, like, should we be paying Israel to spy? No, we're not. We're not paying Israel to spy on us. I think the annual budget is somewhere between $3 and $4 billion. We're paying Israel for other intel. And unfortunately, our government has accepted the consequence of being spied on us. But it's a misrepresentation to say we are paying to be spied on.
All foreign governments essentially accept
Yes.
They do their best to curtail it, but they understand that it happens even amongst people that are technically allies.
Right.
I get it. I don't like it. And Ted should have been saying, like, no, of course not. It's not in our interest. We don't like that at all. Also, Tucker should have been able to say that maybe Putin is not our best friend. He also shouldn't have been so easily fooled by one Subway and one grocery store when he made the "Come to Russia" video. And Ted rightly pointed it out, like, hey, you're doing this. And Tucker's answer was terrible on that. So they both had some very, like,
They were both off yesterday, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
No, I think
It's like watching two great fighters who they
I don't really think Ted. I don't think that Tucker Carlson is a great debater at all. I think Ted Cruz is when he's debating other politicians.
Yeah.
But he has to give these political answers. For example, to me with Tucker, what I don't understand is he goes, okay, what is the exact ethnic makeup of Iran? But he interviewed the Tate brothers and didn't know the charges. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, are you doing due diligence or are you not?
That's what I'm saying.
I think a lot of it is gotcha.
Yeah. It's
that
adversarial from the very get-go.
Yeah, it looked like he couldn't wait to get at him.
Yeah, and Tucker was a twerp for most of the interview. He really was.
Hey, watch your language.
I mean, just
Yeah.
It just became, literally, he became super annoying, like multiple times.
The whole thing was annoying.
And Ted
That's
just
my
kept taking the bait. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, geez.
Yeah, and I don't think either of you represents most of mainstream America. And if you look at the polls, most of mainstream America, they say, hey, it's probably not a good thing for Iran to get a nuke. It would be good for them to not get to that capability. And then as far as American involvement, majority support that. But I bet if you frame it in, hey, should the United States sell, for example, the equipment that's needed to Israel to finish the job, you'd probably have a pretty high percentage. And I would say that's the one where it's still a question mark for me. I would like Iran's power to be done once and for all with this. I understand no regime changes have really worked all that. I understand that. That's not about regime change to me. It's about removing the nuclear capability because that's a bad thing. But I don't like Israel starting something. And by starting, I do mean responding to hundreds and hundreds of missiles. I don't like them going in knowing full well that if they need something from us, expecting that we will give it to them. That is...
It's called putting your friends on the spot.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah. And a good friend doesn't do that.
Yeah, we'll see if they actually did that, though. I mean, I highly doubt that they did. I think they probably had conversations about this and said, look, if we're going to take this last place out, it's going to have to be you guys. We don't have the capability.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe Donald Trump said, no, take everything else out, but we're not going to do it. I don't know. I don't know what those backroom conversations...
There's a lot of ambiguity by design right now because that's a military strategy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This is Donald Trump negotiating. I just want to throw out one quick theory and then we move on to chats that I heard yesterday that was very perplexing. See if you guys can follow this. So first of all, it's illegal under Islamic law, apparently. So a fatwa issued in 2003 saying that a nuclear bomb is counter to Islamic law, and so therefore Iran will not, under any circumstances, pursue an atomic bomb. Okay?
Okay.
And the only reason that Iran ever pursued an atomic bomb in the first place was because of an arms race set off by Israel when they developed nuclear weapons. Mm-hmm. Which is why Iran is enriching past any reasonable point of peaceful use with uranium. Does that make any sense to you? So if you're
it's also why Iran launched hundreds of missiles in April and October of 2024 because they're so concerned about Israel's nuclear capabilities.
Exactly. I mean,
and funds Hezbollah.
So you're telling me, let's just start off with the premise that it's always been against Islamic law.
They're cherry picking.
Right. But you're saying that you started an arms race because Israel has a bomb. Do you enter an arms race to not create a bomb to create parity? Or do you enter an arms race to at least match your opponent or exceed their abilities like Russia and the United States did during the Cold War? Like there was an arms race for a reason. And then going on to say, well, yes, but we're never going to create a bomb. You don't have to worry about that. Iran's never going to create a bomb in the first place. It's against Islamic law. Never mind the fact that they started to enter the arms race.
Okay.
And they've gone to 60% enrichment on the Iranians.
I got a question.
No civil purpose at all.
It's against Islamic law. It's in the Quran because...
it's not.
Okay, I was going to say, the atomic bomb came around, what, 1950 something?
I haven't even seen this chat. I think they're basing it on saying, for example,
Well, it's the new
Islam is
40s.
such a humane religion that during war they say do not even harm a tree if you can avoid it, right?
Yeah,
so they're trying to say
because
the
Right
idea.
after they kill you for not converting.
Yes.
No, I know.
Exactly.
I'm
Throwing
saying
a woman off a
that's
roof.
the only basis that I can think of, and people do that.
There is some, I mean, they may be pulling it from somewhere. I don't have much of an issue there, but it's like the mental gymnastics you have to do to believe that the guiding principle behind the Iranian regime right now is that an atomic bomb is against our beliefs and against our understanding of how this world should operate, yet we're enriching uranium only, and then to go back and to go, we're enriching uranium. So it's because they have a bomb.
I will say,
But I thought you couldn't create a bomb.
I will say this: the more I think about it, I understand the argument. I think politically it would be a mistake for the United States to strike, to do an airstrike. I think politically it would.
I do too.
Well,
I think it would be better for. I think in other words, we start from the premise of Israel, do whatever you can do on your own, and then we'll host negotiations. I think that it would be a mistake.
what if they do a strike and it's over at that? There's no ground invasion.
I still
change.
think it would be a mistake.
Politically, I think it'd be totally fine. I don't agree with it necessarily, but I think it would be totally fine.
I would be against it.
The
I would be against it.
polls
I'd
are
be
with
against it
Trump
because-
on this one. I mean, the polls I read last night, like
the strike-
73% even, are with him.
I thought you said the Pauls, like Rand Paul. You said polls.
Oh, no,
Polls,
these,
the
no, the polls are.
Polish are all for
They're
this.
all.
What if we get the UK
I was
to
confused.
do
I was like, what?
What if we get the UK to do it?
Oh, they're a nation of pussies. They're not going to do it.
They are, but maybe they can do this
As
one
Archie
thing.
Bunker said, England is a fair country.
It is.
That's what he said.
I would be, if I had to give you an answer, unless something changes, I would be against a strike right now. And I get it, Soleimani, and I get it, the Houthi. It's not just because of how charged this is right now and how the left and the far right will unite and say, see, more of the same,
Well,
even
and
though
you
it's
don't
not
know what'll
accurate.
happen either. So I am with you in that I don't want the airstrike. Like today,
Where we stand right
I
now.
would say no, I don't want it. If we could guarantee somehow, some way that the airstrike would be the end of it, and there were no boots on
Right,
the ground,
and you
no
can't.
regime
Right.
change, then yes. But you're right, you can't. So as of right now, I'm like, then no. Right. And I do honestly, an alternative may be to have one of these other countries do it. Like
They won't.
England, if you really want to support these guys, they're sending a carrier over there. So okay, fine. I think it was a carrier. Maybe it was just a battle group from England.
Yeah, I
we
don't
still
know.
have any carriers?
Let's get
They have
Haiti.
a little weird jumping off thing at the end of them.
Yeah, throw some dirt cookies at them. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.